Welcome to the season finale here of the iRacing Grand Prix Series. This is the last of the chances for all the gunslingers to get themselves that final shot in and final crucial points in the championship battles. But this is going to be one circuit which everyone needs to worry about. Tight, twisty, always high pace, high speed, and always causes some sensational action. We're at Watkins Glen in just a couple of moments' time.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, Legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
Welcome to Hutu Land. Of course, this circuit of Watkins Glen was most famed in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series for the fact that Gregor Hutu just couldn't stop winning around this fabled 5.41 kilometer circuit. It's a classic boot layout here on Racebot TV and also on iRacing Live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The first of a double bill on Racebot TV with hashtag ViewMine Jake Sperry manning the ship, and of course our good old crewmate of Connery Maddock alongside Connery. What a difficult circuit this one is. It's full of just difficult corners, slow to fast to fast to slow. Nothing really that screams out that it's got itself a real good opportunity for overtaking as such, but it always seems to provide that as I'm looking at Glen Dimov looking to finish his first lap.
Yes, he's just coming into the final sector right here, just 2 corners to go, and as you mentioned, not really the best track of overtaking, but it can happen. It's not impossible, and well, maybe someone will optimistically slide one down the inside at turn 1 or coming down into the carousel, but this was right on board with Glen Dimov right now. Number 14 machine heading his way down onto the brakes, coming down into turn 1, and it's very easy to push wide here. Actually, he's going to cancel that lap. He's not going to give us that onboard lap. Maybe Ion Manea may give this onboard lap as he's heading his way up through the S's section right now, and that's a single line all the way through there. If you're going to go too wide through there, then you're going to lose a lot of time, and of course it may end up in tears. We're going to miss the bus stop here. This is the classic layout, so the next braking zone is going to be coming down into the carousel, just getting that car to that yellow line and then pushing right back out, not over the exit curve there for the Maneo though. He's going to head himself down into the left hand of the chute, slightly downhill. Good exit here, and then he's going to head back up the hill in the uphill braking zone for the toe of the boot right now. And this is where we see a lot of people get power slides on the exit of that corner. Manea manages to keep it pointed in the correct direction for the racing surface though, as he heads himself down into the heel this time. And again, gets a good apex, good corner, good exit. So it's a decent lap so far for Manea, heading up into this turn 8 section right now. This left-hand hairpin, wide left-hand hairpin, again, decent corners here from Mineo. This is looking like a good lap for him. He's currently 6th position in qualifying. Maybe he can improve, as actually this, I think his lap may be invalid here. He's done too many allotted laps. But that was a good lap, a good just sort of warm-up for him, I guess.
Yeah, Inu Minea just trying to prove himself to see exactly how he's doing. Jalmus Garot there also on a flying lap right now is the only driver out on circuit actually on a flying lap as he heads himself around that difficult cambered corner of the toe. It leans into you, so you think you got more grip than you do up this hill, and from an aerial perspective it doesn't seem like much, but into the heel and keeping yourself going up this circuit. Surprising amount of elevation here at Watkins Glen. That's always something to keep a mind out of before they enter back onto the NASCAR layout as you see things right now. Jalmus Jarot in the 18 machine, currently in position number 9, doing a good job of things. 119.4 as things stand. 2 tenths needed to find to get past Reynaldo Augusto for P number 8. His drive to the line is invalidated, so it won't count at all. But by all intents and purposes, just upper cars getting themselves back out, trying to do some practices. But with half a minute to go, I believe the grid is all but sorted. Let's get ourselves a rundown then on how the field will look. Well, let's take a look then at this grid. Davy de Corps is going to be on pole position with a 118.150, 4 tenths of a second quicker than anybody else, and that driver in second is Diogo Oliveira. Matteo Ugolotti will start in position number 3. Galen Dimov will start in position number 4. Matteo Calastani and Ian Minea round out row 3. Row 4 will see Michel de Jong and also Reynaldo Augusto. Jalmus Jarot there will start in 9th with Daniel Berenson there rounding out 10. Dennis Branch and Mark Warmington are 11th and 12th. Daniel Lagueres and Ryan Parkins on row 7. Row 8 sees Gary Larson and Milos Pavlovic there. Oli Kvoka will be the last of the cars to set a qualifying lap time, and 2 cars that failed to set qualifying laps. Ruslan Sabatov in the 3 machine for Positive Sim Racing, and Esther Verson Oliveira. I wonder if there's any relation there. But aside from that, 2 minutes to get themselves up on the grid. Connery, 37 laps to this race. The title is going to be decided between 2 people, and both those people aren't racing. So, in terms of the title battle, what a shame that we're not going to see it tonight.
Yeah, neither of those drivers that are in the championship battle. The current championship leader, of course, is Kevin Ellis Jr. He has, well, he's not here, let's just say that, for this race. So we won't know how the championship will turn out, even at the end of this race. That'll have to be decided at the end of this week if they do decide to do any races.
Yes, it will here, as we're just waiting for the last couple of cars to get onto the grid. Reynaldo Augusto and also Milos Pavlovic are the 2 vehicles waiting to get themselves up going. On is Augusto, and Pavlovic then will be the last car we wait for. He's got 40 seconds to get himself onto that grid, and it's a difficult run into the 90 because you can use that outside line if you want, but you have to funnel it back in, and everyone will have to behave in at the opening lap. You are allowed to track extend out to turn number 1, but now the last driver gets onto the grid, and you have to be incredibly careful about how you run it. 37 laps to end what has been a great season. The green lights are here, and we're ready to go. Shocking start from Ugolotti in position number 3. They'll go 3 wide then as they head into turn number 1. It's a good start for De Corps then versus the driver of Oliveira, but getting shoved out to dry then in the second lot is going to be that driver of, I believe, Galen Dimov, who now drops into position number 5 overall, up 3 S's for the very first time in what is a very short and a very quick lap here. 2/3 race distance, and now the slipstream trains coming into play. Branch getting very lucky here, and look at this, through the middle, in the middle of the pack, behind Garot is Branch versus Nagueras, and Nagueras in the TNT racing machine goes around the outside and takes the position away. A very good start from All Connery.
Oh, a slight bit of contact between the number 13, Oli Kvoka, and the number 5 of Daniel Bresnan. Bresnan had a very, very bad start indeed, and Ugolotti span in the middle of the track.
Yeah, and that spinner there was not what was wanted. That's Ugolotti, who was struggling in the early goings. Coming out of that corner, replay on screen. It's a very similar place to where Alexei Usyakula had his big incident 3 years ago. And that's just a case of being too eager on the power. He missed the apex, heading down into that section, and that meant that he will lose all that time coming out of that section as well. Timer will go away for him, and he'll have a lot of work to do. Pavlovic is through on Branch and gets a huge wiggle when he comes out of the corner, but out in front, it is the driver of Davy de Corps, walking away here, not as much as he'd like though from the driver Diogo Oliveira. Gap across the line is going to be 0.2 of a second, and there's no DRS in the opening couple of laps here, and that's going to be a worry because slipstream and tow means that the moment you're in a second here, Connery, you could have the potential to be overtaken.
Yeah, exactly. And the DRS zone is going to be right there. There is the DRS line for activation. Of course, it's not going to come into effect this lap. Oliveira will still sit in the draft of your race leader, who's David the Corpse at the moment. They head down onto the brakes, coming down into the carousel. Battling behind, though, between Kalastani and Galen Dimov. Dimov's going to take that inside line, but he'll lose the advantage when it comes to the chute. That goes back to Kalastani. He'll have the advantage this corner coming on down onto the inside line, but then the advantage switches again for the toe of the boot as they're going to hit side by side for 3 corners so far, and absolutely neck and neck as they head themselves on the exit of the toe of the boot. And Dimov is just slightly ahead. He can slot in right now, but he doesn't think he's going to risk it while there's a crash behind.
Ollie Kroker then has been involved in an incident, and Ollie Kroker and Milos Pantovic getting involved. Let's get a replay on screen. Branch was in there as well, and that one just a case of heading to that toe, trying to take advantage. Kroker on the brakes ran wide, and well, it seemed that Pavlovic even missed his braking zone by just a half inch, and that's just enough around here to cause a major incident, Connery, and for the 3 of them, that is back to the back of the field.
Yeah, especially when you're going around about 280 kilometers an hour, heading down onto the brakes into there. You're traveling such a distance in half a second. There's actually, we have another spinner out on track for P number 5. There's Daniel Brenrenson here, as he actually is going to head his way down pit lane because there is some significant suspension damage to that car. This looks like to be a self-spin coming out of the final corner, and that is a very common theme here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, car number 5, Daniel Berenson, then running into issues. Managed to catch the inside retaining wall, and he'll have to serve his pit stop, shall we say, in terms of that one. Back into position number 3, still hotting up Galen Dimov under a lot of pressure. De Jong's got through and Kalastani through this. Menair on that train as well. Reynaldo Augusto there in what is now a 5-car battle for position number 5. Pit stop strategy. It will be a no stop for some. It'll be a 1 stop for others who think they can gain the advantage on the tyre life here, Connery. And with the fact that everyone's wiggling and everyone's got to try and negotiate a difficult, hilly track, they have to be wondering, is it worth coming in, getting that stop and getting fresh rubber around here, especially for some of the drivers who are stuck in the middle of this train?
Well, it's not the hottest temperatures that we have seen in and the sky is partly cloudy. So if there was clear and quite a high track temperature, then we may see the 1 stop becoming more and more viable. But I think the fastest way around this track right now in terms of strategy is that no stop.
Yeah, the no stop might be the key here. Battle for the lead though. Diogo Oliveira in range here. Will have the DRS, but will the ERS be deployed by David de Corpse here to sort of counteract the balance? The answer's going to be no here, not as much as he would have desired, but Diogo Oliveira will close right in towards the carousel and will run nose to tail then. So Oliveira versus de Corpse will continue on then, this battle for the race lead here. Down into the chute, then left-hand corner, and now you head towards the bottom part of the circuit here of the toe of the boot. Classic boot layout, of course, that we're playing here. Oliveira very content just to sit behind him. Maybe the dirty air effect isn't as strong here because we're not seeing as many medium to high-speed corners, Connery.
Yep, that could definitely be the case right there. As also there's going to be a little bit of setup differences between the 2 cars. Maybe one's running higher downforce setup than the other. These are just the variables that we just have to consider right now. As David de Corpse had a little bit of a twitch coming out of the turn 9 hairpin there. And, well, it was just a very, very slight one, but one that can make you nervous.
It can here, and it's not the first little twitch that he's had. He's always trying to make corrections for the corners. I saw it last lap when he went through the 90 here. Down the hill on the brakes, right-hand corner at 190 kilometers an hour. Again, a big wiggle coming out of the 90 to deal with, and that will compromise his run going up the hill, up through the SS section. He'll have the advantage of the dirty air behind for Oliveira, who will struggle to get right up onto the rear. Now the DRS comes into play, and he's gone defensive early. Moves to the outside. Will look to maybe move defensive again. Here comes Diogo Oliveira down to the inside, and he hasn't quite made the move just yet, so he'll have to try and get a better run coming off of the corner, but he'll chop the nose off, and he'll say thank you very much. David de Corpse drops back into P2. Diogo Oliveira, your new race leader.
Yeah, that was a very calculated move for Oliveira. It looked like he knew he was going to be clear of David de Corpse before he made the track out point. It was very, very close indeed, but it did work for that number 1 machine. So number 1 machine in the number 1 spot for now.
Yes, it is. Inu Minea in the 17 versus Reynaldo Augusto in the 8 here. Both of them battling incredibly hard, and there was a little look from Augusto into the toe, a look into the heel, but he'll wait here on this one-line Suxul right-hand corner, arguably the slowest on the circuit at about 140 kilometers an hour. Onto the brakes again, though, for an even slower left-hander off camber corner as well. And Connery, that corner there, that turn number 9 corner, so many drivers think they can make a move there if they chuck one up the inside, and a more experienced driver would maybe think to wait back. But when you get towards the final few laps, there might be an advantage here. Davide Corps has dropped 1.1 seconds over that last lap, though.
Yeah, an absolutely horrible lap for Davide Corps. I'll have a look back to see where that time may have been lost. And it looks like it was just an average over the course of that lap. It was just on outright pace that he lost that speed. There wasn't any mistake over the course of that last lap. This is just how fast Diego Oliveira is going at the moment.
Yeah, it is here, and well, the top 8 standings then, we'll bring them up on your screen right now. See the biggest moves and shakers, and Daniel Nogueras certainly is the biggest one of all of those, because he is up 5 positions as things stand. Top 8 split by just 10 seconds on circuit here after 5 laps worth of racing right now. Augusto is through, though, on the driver of Inu Minea, and he's done that one very, very accomplished there into that carousel, the prime overtaking opportunity place, Connery.
Yeah, and then battle out on track number 18. John Masturute just having a little bit of a battle with Ryan Parkins, as Ryan Parkins is going to make his way around the outside, getting that pass complete, in fact. And there's also another driver, the PSR car here of Ruslan Sabatov, who's regular in the series. He's going to maybe look to slim one down the inside turn 9. Nope, he's just going to wait behind, like you mentioned. Try and get a good enough exit here. He's close enough to make a move coming down his penultimate corner. Again, he's just going to be patient. He's just going to wait behind, maybe making a move down into turn 1. He's not going to make a move here in the final corner. That's a very risky move indeed. And then he's not going to get the run at the final corner he needs to make a move down into turn 1. Maybe he's looking at the carousel this time by.
Maybe the carousel is the most clear-cut of opportunities to make that move. The question will be, is Giraud in that 1 second window when they cross the line? He was ever so slightly out of it compared to Ryan Parkins, so I doubt he'll get DRS when he goes through. Maybe ERS here for Sabatov as he looks to now really take that advantage. Tucks right underneath, moves to the right-hand side of the circuit, passes the bus stop, and well, he catches the bus and moves himself up into position number 10 overall. Now Mark Warmington will want to try and get himself +1 for his day here. Front. Spinner as well towards the front of the field, Connery.
Yeah, and that was actually, Michel de Jong was actually an innocent bystander. He got collected in that after Galen Dimov had his own self spin on the entry to the chute. He tracked out a little bit too much on the entry to the corner, got half its higher, or half of the tires on that side of the car on the grass, just completely unsettled the car. And then Michel de Jong just picked the wrong way to go, hugged the left side instead of going around the outside. And that has taken both cars out of the race. Meanwhile, Kalistani avoided that.
Yeah, Kalistani up into position number 3. De Jong and also Dimov then will drop many, many positions back. The pair of them damaged as well. Now Ryan Parkins just behind, so that's P7, P8 that the pair of them now find themselves. That's how much you have to say. It's also worth noting here, Connery, for those who do follow the World Championship, this Michel de Jong is not the same as Mitchell de Jong, who drives for BRS Command Simsport. 2 completely different drivers, and well, it seems at the moment that Michel de Jong here will need to try and find Daniel Nogueira sooner rather than later.
Yep, there's so many de Jongs in this iRacing service, and all of them pretty much very, very quick. As actually some frantic battling with the number 11 car and others here. Ruslan Sabatov, Galen Dimov, and of course Michel de Jong that we were mentioning just before. They were all embroiled in the battle, heading their way down into the carousel. And Dimov is struggling at the back of this train, shall we say, with that mangled front wing. And you have to think he maybe have to come in to get that repaired. He's losing too much time staying out.
Yeah, he is. He maybe is hoping here just to stay in the slipstream with the cars ahead, so that won't become too much of an issue. Sabatov is one of the drivers who is like a hot knife through butter at the moment, because he is making his way through the field. He's +8 now, +9 at the moment from starting towards the back of the field. So Sabatov really making inroads. Ryan Parkins the next challenge. Michel de Jong even will be the next car in front of that. Worth talking about the front of the field also here, Connery, because it seems that Diego Oliveira has clocked out here 2.7 seconds. He's now got the advantage over Davide Corps in the Orion race team car. Diego Oliveira is finding a turn of pace that we haven't normally seen from him. This is fantastic to see from the #1 machine.
Yeah, it really is brilliant to see. Meanwhile, pass for position on track and 2 passes for position. It might be 2 passes for Ruslan Sabatov heading his way down into the carousel. Right now, he got past what the car of Michel de Jong was. Michel de Jong, heavy contact into the barriers at the carousel. We have to go back to that one while we'll still watch this battle between Watkins and Sabatov, which is just going to fizzle out a little bit. But that was a very weird incident with de Jong.
Yeah, I think he's really frustrated with what has happened with him as he just sends it straight on into the wall there. That is, in my opinion, a lot of frustration on a car that was damaged and a result that was there. Nobody really likes to see that one. We'll move on from it. Battle at the rear of the field, though. Esteverson Oliveira in the 19 has Dennis Branch just behind him here. That difference in gap is about not much at all, shall we say. Let's not try and get into specifics, but Dennis Branch, he caught up about a second in that final lap, 8/10 over Oliveira, and of course Branch is on the recovery drive after the incident he had with Ollie Croker.
And if you do want an exact gap and you're not satisfied with Jake's comment, it's just under half a second between these 2 cars. But it is going to be well within DRS distance for Dennis Branch next time by coming across the DRS back straight here. We don't get DRS on the pit straight. That's important to know. As we actually have a look back up to Mark A. Warmington making his way out, and Dimov's struggling a lot with that car right now. Meanwhile, we look back towards number 19, number 12. This is Esteverson Oliveira and Dennis Branch. Dennis Branch does indeed have that DRS. He's going to have to be forced around the outside of the carousel, though, which isn't the most ideal line. But Oliveira just basically let him by and also compromised his own corner there as well as he pushes wide.
Yeah, he does, and he was saving ERS down that straight, so he made sure that he let that move happen, didn't defend it as much as he can. I also want to look at Galen Dimov here, because the difference between him and Warmington on that straight was about 30 kilometers an hour, maybe 20 kilometers an hour down that straight. The battle for P6, though, hotting up as well, as Ruslan Sabatov has got through on the driver of Daniel Nogueras here for the TNT Racing. That was done into the heel, which is not often a place that you find an overtake, but he had the line, one line suits all, and on the inside, there's not much, actually, that Nogueras could have done there, as they now head to the start-finish and a spin as well.
Yeah, this was Ryan Parkins, number 11 machine, heading his way out of the final corner, and that is the second driver that's had a spin coming out of there. You can see where the banking drops away on the exit of the corner, because the middle of the corner is actually cambered a little bit, and as that drops away, you just feel the car just get a little bit light, and you struggle to get the traction down, and that, and I think that is what has happened there.
Yeah, and for Ryan Parkins, who is up there and scrapping out on the steel, he's now got to be careful as he tries to get back onto the pace, because there's Dennis Branch once again looking to try and steal another position, 2 in 2 laps. He moves out of the tow, though, does the driver of Ryan Parkins, to try and break that away. Won't be overtaken into the carousel, but now we'll have to be careful in the next stages of this race on lap 11 here out of a potential 37, because he's now got to just be careful about how he gets himself back into play in this race. There's been a lot of mistakes here, Connery, in the early goings. Of course, this is a track that's been taken off, shall we say, the iRacing calendar for the last race this season, as the battle for P8 continues on the circuit right now, and that is Mark Warmington versus Galen Dimov. And of course, Dimov's front wing is buckled and is bent, and that's the only issue that he's going to have here. He can follow in line very comfortably, but the moment he tries to go for that overtake, I've seen him be down by about 15 kilometers an hour, even in tow, Connery.
Yeah, but as well as affecting his straight line speed, when at the crucial points where he needs that downforce, well, he doesn't have it, at least the front downforce, because of that front wing being all mangled. So we'll have to see how he negotiates this one, if he can in fact get past Marky Warmington. He will have DRS this time by as they come across the activation point. Warmington will not, but look how far down he is in the straight line, even with DRS.
Yeah, that's not the nicest sight, shall we say, for straight line speed. It's almost like saying Mercedes versus a McLaren Honda, but we'll skip aside the point there. Still, though, we look at the likes of the drivers who are making inroads here in this field. Ruslan Sabatov is certainly one of those drivers. He's up plus 12 for the day, and he didn't set a lap time in qualifying, Connery. And I think he was just looking to try and pick and choose his way through the field, because he knew that there would be incidents in the early goings of this race. So for Ruslan Sabatov, starting from the back, is a gamble that has really paid off for him.
Yeah, but it really has. And if you look towards the car ahead of him, there's a couple of seconds down the road. That's the 17 of Manea. He was, he was about 0.6 of a second faster than Manea last time by. So he is definitely making inroads right now. Let's see how the gap closes this time by between those two particular drivers. As actually Manea sets a much better lap time than he did previously, but Sabatov still a couple of tenths faster.
Sabatov is a couple of tenths faster right now, so that's going to be not what's really wanted here as Sabatov drives on an island on his own right now. Warmington has the pressure from Dimov here on the straight, but isn't going to be able to use it. But slow is Nogueras here, who is saving ERS. He'll get caught out by that as through goes Warmington. Not much Nogueras could do about that. Mark Warmington up into position number 7 now on circuit with a very, very easy overtake. And Connery, Nogueras, if he activated his ERS and if he didn't save it as much as he did, he would have had the ability to defend. But of course, ERS saving is such a huge issue in these McLaren MP430s because you've got to try and get that so you can recharge it over a lap. And you can only do that in the braking zones, and there's not too many very heavy braking zones around here.
No, it isn't. And, well, you can set the deployment to like an automatic dynamic deployment. You also have fixed and you also have a fixed mode as well, which is, well, you basically push a button to activate the ERS instead of the system doing it for you. As Dimov is still trying to hang with all he has onto the back of this train. But again, with that front wing damage, I just don't think it's going to happen right now. As you see, he's coming across this pitch. He gains initially, but as soon as the aerodynamic forces, the drag builds up as they get towards the end of the straight, it's just not happening for him.
No, it isn't, as they head through the 90 once again. This train is 3 back into P7, P8, P9 out on circuit right now. And well, David Corpus has made a mistake out on circuit that last lap. He's dropped back 8 seconds now to your race leader. We'll try and catch that one up on replay. And that's the penultimate corner that's happened. There's damage to the front wing as well. Just gets in, he clips the curb on the inside, clips the curb on the outside, and the car just decides, nope. It turns around, and that's a heavy, heavy instant, Connery, for a driver of such esteemed caliber.
Maybe he just wants to, well, he wants to join Glen Dimov in having a very mangled front wing, but well, this will be interesting to see how much time he loses per lap, because this may mean that he falls back into a lot of clutches of the likes of Mattia Calistani, Ronaldo Augusto, Manea and Sabatov, perhaps, if he doesn't get that front wing changed. So it looks like that's the gift of this race given to Diego Oliveira at this moment in time, but it isn't over until the Fat Lady sings, as we all know all too well in racing.
Don't count your blessings just yet. Gap there has opened up to 8-9 seconds. It was a 21.3 that time from David De Corps, 21 flat from Diego Oliveira. So De Corps, despite the damage onto the front wing, ran a lap time actually quicker than the one he set on lap number 12. So it does prove that even though you do put the little winglets on the car to try and make it have more downforce, make it go quicker, sometimes it doesn't really matter what you put on the front wing as long as the car is driving in a straight direction. Battle for P8, though, continues here on circuit as Nogueras now still under pressure from Glen Dimov. And Dimov again will get himself into the tow, but once again, it's going to be a case of this time he can make the change, though. He'll go down to the inside, and it's almost like there's no ERS output from the driver, Daniel Nogueras here. It's very bizarre. And the driver who could never make an overtake in the form of Glen Dimov has finally made an overtake, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. That was very, very weird indeed. It's like, as you mentioned, that that number 9 machine just had no extra juice going down the straight. The ERS light was not, in fact, flashing, so the ERS should have been deploying. Meanwhile, Glen Dimov, alternatively, his ERS light was flashing, yet he was still many, many miles an hour faster down the straight, even with them angled front wings. So that was very weird.
It is, and we haven't seen Daniel Nogueras in a big major incident here so far during this race, Connery, so maybe something technical might be what we're looking at here with the driver of Daniel Nogueras. And when everything starts failing around you and you think that you can't really do much, that's nothing that you really want to be seeing here through this. As I'm just continuing to look at the gaps and the lap times here for the leading two. The Corpse did a 21.6, same time as Calistani, so Calistani unable to close down that gap, and he's got about 6 seconds to close here on the driver of the Corpse. And it might just have to be a case that he'll have to settle for P number 3, but I think he'll be happy sitting behind 2 black stripe drivers in the forms of 2 drivers who are in that iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Yeah, it's not too bad of a result at all if he can just get that final step of the podium. Meanwhile, we look at Nogueras again. He's going to be battling with the car of Glen. Actually got back past Glen coming down into the carousel. Glen is going to have to reply on the inside coming down the chute, though, as Nogueras does push wide. Dimov has to run out of the corner. Again, perhaps using ERS to give him that extra acceleration out of the corner. He's going to have to hang it around the outside of the toe of the boot. Again, using ERS here to just launch himself off of the corner. And look how much speed now that number 14 machine has. Where was that earlier?
Where was that earlier is the right answer. So Nogueras, from having that 40 km/h advantage down the straight, maybe has used all of his ERS in one fell swoop, because he now loses so much time compared to Galen Dimov, who was only doing about 300 km/h down the straight. Onto the brakes, right-handed final corner. Gap has completely opened up, and if he's not careful here, Nogueras, he'll lose all of that advantage of slipstream that happens here. That gap is 9/10 of a second as they cross the start-finish line. And, well, he's just about there. He'll gain an advantage through this section because of this being the only real high-speed corner on circuit. And now Nogueras will look to pick up that advantage here, using that toe, and uses all of his ERS here, saving a little bit, though. 337 km/h to the outside, and that just shows you just how bad Dimov's vehicle really is.
Yeah, but that was basically a 30 km/h difference between those cars coming down the straight. As we have a look to the P number 3, this is Calistani versus Ronaldo Augusto. Now, a little bit of a flashback to Okayama, Jake. We know what happened there between two PSR cars.
Yeah, they came together and nobody wants to see two PSR cars make the same mistake. Maybe team orders will come into play as we're looking at the 16 machine here of Gary Larson. And Larson here is had a moment there down at the chute. Just the car switched around on him as he tried to get himself down through. No contact with the barrier. That's crucial here in terms of this. So Gary Larson has managed to get himself back going behind Parkins and the driver Dennis Branch. But for the time being, Nogueras has dropped another position here as he's made his own mistake, as he's actually lost the position to Girot, and that's coming out to the heel, Connery.
Yep, just getting some oversteer on the exit of the corner, trying to get the power down, and a decent tap to their driver's right-hand side Armco barrier. So now Nogueras has a mangled front wing as well, joining a couple of other drivers in this race that have that.
Mangled front wing club becomes the most coveted club then here at Watkins Glen. This 37 lap race that we're having today. At the end of this lap, we will have crossed half distance then in this event. Diogo Oliveira still has the lead of this one, 10.5 seconds when they last crossed the line to Davide Corps. Third position at the moment, Matteo Calistani versus Reynaldo Augusto, position number 4. And there isn't really too much time being gained, only a 10th of a second in that last lap between Augusto and Calistani. And of course, it's nice to see when teammates start battling each other. It proves that one driver is the best compared to the other. And well, for the time being, with only 14 runners, you have to feel that any points haul that you can get from here, Connery, is a great result in the final race of the season.
Yep, exactly. But as I mentioned, at Okayama, two PSR cars came together trying to battle with each other. That was coming down into the hairpin turn at Okayama. So, well, this one might just be feisty now. Even though they're two teammates, you might consider, oh, they'll be very nice to each other. They give each other racing room. That isn't always the case, as we've seen.
No, it isn't here, and the pair of them are actually losing time to Davide Corps, still another half a second lopped off. So now they find themselves 7 seconds adrift here, and now Augusto may be looking at the opportunity. Now you can see, moves to the right-hand side, and that's going to be a very comfortable overtake down onto the brakes into the carousel. He'll get it on the inside, but the better run will come to Calistani here on the outside, who may have a look to the inside. No, he backs out of it and brakes early there, not risking running into the back of that driver into the chute of Reynaldo Augusto. So for Calistani, drops himself back to position number 4, but they are safe in the knowledge that Ianu Manea is not closing up enough on them in position number 5 for the 17 machine, Connery.
Yeah, Manea only caught around about 1/10 of a second up to Calistani last time by. Of course, that margin is going to be bigger this time by because of the pass that did happen. Lost both drivers just a couple of tenths of a second. We'll see what it's like next time by, as Augusto is currently just checking out right now over the latter half of this lap, just pulling out that gap over Calistani, trying to break the DRS.
He is, and breaking that DRS is exactly what he needs to do. Gap across the line. Well, That's half a second right now, so that's not going to be enough for Reynaldo Augusto here, as he needs to make those moves. A 121.5 for him, a 122.5 for the driver Matteo Calistani. So up the S's, the pair of them will go once again. You've got to be careful through that S's section. There is no runoff area at all on the exit of 3, and clipping that wall, clipping that Armco barrier is the last thing that anyone wants to do. Of course, Connery, there's some areas of this circuit where there's a little bit of runoff that you can get away with. Other areas of this circuit, it's just grass. This isn't a full Herman Tilke design track, but you could argue there's a couple of elements from it.
Yeah, exactly. So drivers have to be very, very careful. Of course, as you mentioned, there's runoff at the turn 1 area and also into the carousel, but pretty much everywhere else, you're going into the grass or the gravel if you run wide. As we have a look towards P10, this is Nogueras versus Ryan Parkins right now, and I think that was Ryan Parkins managing to get himself past Nogueras, just coming down onto the brakes, coming down into the carousel. That was a pretty easy DRS pass around the outside though, so not as simple as one may think. But that is Ryan Parkins up into P number 10 right now, but Daniel Nogueras back down into P number 11, and Dennis Branch may also be smelling an opportunity here as well, as he caught 2 seconds up to Daniel Nogueras last time by.
Yeah, Daniel Nogueras is struggling really with that front wing. He did a 122.7 after that damage, which seemed okay, but a 124.5 means that he had another mistake somewhere out on circuit. Rounds through turn number 10, and this turn number 11 corner is such a difficult one on the final laps. Who can forget NASCAR Peak Anti-Freeze Series, where it was Michael Conti and also PJ Sturgis come together. Driving down onto the lane is Jalmas Jarot then in on pit road. He's pitted in and was, I believe, inside your top 10, so he doesn't feel confident on the tyres. He'll go out, get a new fresh set, then 4 seconds in the box and try and get himself back out again. He's up on the jacks. There's no need to change his front wing. His pit stop done as easy as that, as quick in a flash, and he will have clean air to work with here, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. Very clean, very okay pit stop there from the pit crew. Meanwhile, there's still some battling going out on track. Dennis Branch versus Daniel Nogueras. This is the one that we've been setting up for the past lap or so, and that's going to be Dennis Branch on the inside line coming through the chute. It's going to switch back to Nogueras being on the inside line for the toe of the boot right here, but I think this pass is going to be relatively inevitable, if not now, somewhat later, because of the damage that Daniel Nogueras has. He holds off Dennis Branch for now, but I don't think that's going to last long.
Maybe, maybe not, but he does just have the faintest little grab of the coattails of what you could say of Ryan Parkins here, so that will be playing into the hands of Daniel Nogueras in the TNT Racing machine. Dennis Branch behind will need to try and make some inroads soon, but doesn't get the best run there through turn number 10, heads to turn number 11, missing the apex ever so slightly as well, so Branch starting to make a couple of mistakes here. Battle though for P number 5 between Ruslan Sabatov and Ianu Minea. That gap is just about a second, and Sabatov didn't manage to get DRS down that straight, Connery. If he just finds a tenth of a second through this mid part of the lap, he could be right on the back, and it would be PSR 345.
Yeah, if we can get a little bit of a look at the relative timings, in fact, he's just dipping under that 1 second mark. Is around about 0.9 seconds, 0.8 seconds as he heads his way through the toe of the boot. He has to keep it like that for the entry to the S's section at the beginning of the lap to get that DRS activation and to maybe look at the pass coming down into the carousel. He definitely has the pace for it, as that gap is still dropping slightly by slightly every single corner. It's 0.7 seconds right now, so he's probably going to be within DRS zone this time by.
Should be within DRS. We'll check to make sure that he is. Ruslan Sabatov then will look to try and round the final corner. Small mistake there from Minea. Had to correct the vehicle as he went through the final corner. Only a small correction. Lose only about half a tenth through that section alone. 9/10 of a second. So there will be DRS in range, it seems, for the driver Ruslan Sabatov. Don't expect him to make the overtake this time, though, because you'll see a driver like Ianu Minea use DRS, well, not even DRS, we'll use ERS even, to try and counteract the balance used from DRS. But look at now how Sabatov will close down that gap at 330 kilometers an hour, and he'll just sit and he'll wait on that because he knew he wasn't close enough to make the move. Now we'll look to try and get a run out of the corner, and that was a horrible corner for Minea, because now look who's right on the rear.
Yep, exactly. Sabatov looking to add one more position to the 12 that he has already gained at this point if he makes his way up to P5, which he looks to do right now, coming through the toe of the boot. And that was a very easy pass for Ruslan Sabatov because Ion Manea ran wide. So that is going to be Sabatov up into P number 5, 13 positions gained on his qualifying position of 18.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Ruslan Sabatov, and if there was any contender at this race for a Driver of the Day award, this would be one of your main contenders making his way through the field. So Sabatov, he's got about 6 seconds now to catch up to Kalistani, and I doubt we'll see that happen here as those three drivers all have a very similar turn of pace here in the latter stages of this event. Gap at the front is now 12.2 seconds for Diogo Oliveira. So barring a mistake, Connery, you could argue that it's still not done. Manea's battle, though, still isn't done. He's still in DRS range.
Yep, he is, and looking to get a good run out of here to maximize the advantage that the DRS gives him. But he's going to equalize runs with Sabatov, in fact. And Sabatov's actually going to pull away, at least at the start of the straight, before the DRS kicks in. And I think that's just because Ruslan Sabatov looks to be running a little bit of a lower downforce setup, a little bit more trimmed out on that number 3 machine, just allowing him to get better, basically default speed coming down the straight. And that really helped him there.
It has, and that is going to be very useful here as we look back further towards the likes of Dennis Branch versus Daniel Nogueras. And the three of them have sort of found their own train. They're stuck in this sort of cycle, Connery, where one driver can't gain the advantage on the other, because they all are gaining the same sort of top speed through the fastest section of the circuit, which is the run to the carousel. So there becomes a different issue. How do you force a driver into a mistake? What sort of tactics do you use as a driver to try and unsettle the driver ahead? Do you maybe throw the nose out, or do you maybe look to try and run deep into the corners to try and play scare tactics?
I think you mentioned it, Jake. I think you just show the nose a little bit, just show your intentions coming down into the braking zone, try and make yourself look big in the other driver's mirrors, and then try to force a mistake. That's pretty much the only thing you can do if you and your competitors are so close on the pace. You have to employ some sneaky tactics, shall we say, to get yourself past.
Sneaky tactics might be a certain case to be made here for a couple of drivers. Nogueras is close in range, though, here as he rounds the 90 turn number 1. Gets all shades of wrong, though, up on that curb. It's a lot higher than what people give credit for there. You think you can just take advantage of it, and some do, some don't. But the battle for P7, Dimov was close, but Warmington will hold on to that advantage. But for position number 9 on circuit, Nogueras is under a lot of pressure from Branch, position number 10 even. As I say that, to the outside tries Branch down at the carousel, but he's stuck on the outside. There's no way that he's going to be able to make that move that way, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. Nogueras is putting up a good fight here, in fact, even with that damaged front wing. His Branch runs a little bit wide coming down into the chute, and that's going to put him behind just a couple of tenths yet again, heading himself down into the toe, but misses the apex again there. So not a good couple of corners for Dennis Branch, and well, he kind of has to get these corners consistent if he wants any chance of getting past Nogueras right now. Nogueras is putting up a very good defensive fight. Meanwhile, Marky Warmington did in fact lose that position to Dimov.
Yeah, he did, and that was into the toe corner, the lowest part of the circuit. He went to move for a defensive line, but around the outside tried that driver of Galen Dimov, of course, qualified in position number 4. So that's a very good move from Dimov. He's very confident in how he can place that vehicle, but the issue he's got is that vehicle is not brilliant in a straight line, so he can still manage to wrangle it around a couple of corners here, Connery, but Mark Warmington has completely dropped off the face of the earth through that lap. He must have made a mistake in the final corners as well.
Yeah, if you look at the lap times, he did a 124.3 last time by. In the past couple of laps, he was in the late 122. So yeah, there must have been a mistake there. Meanwhile, looking back towards Dennis Branch and Nogueras, Nogueras is still defending that position for P number 11 from actually, that's going to be Dennis Branch actually through right there at the carousel. Nogueras not able to defend that position. He's going to look for the pass back, maybe coming down into the toe of the boot, but no, look at the run that Dennis Branch got out of there. That just defends his position by default, coming down into the braking zone for the toe.
Yeah, and you have to also remember for Branch, he had a massive twitch up through the S section, did well to correct it also, as he just got all shapes are wrong there, holding it together, kept the foot in as you do, and Dennis Branch, he pluses 1 then right now and moves up into position number 10. The final position slot inside of your top 10 right now. We're just hitting now 11 laps to go in this event. It'll be 10 the next time that Diogo Oliveira comes across the start-finish line. Ronaldo Augusto has completely checked out from Calistani here, and Calistani hasn't had too many bad laps here in the last few stages, but Augusto has just been running that fantastic pace here to try and close down Davide Corps, but it's been inevitable. The gap between third and fourth, now 3 seconds, Conor.
Yeah, it definitely has been inevitable, and the lap time difference between P1 and P2 is around about the same for the lap time difference between P2 and P3. It's just around about 1 or 2 tenths of a second per lap that the front guys are pulling away from each other. And, well, we'll just see how that goes coming towards the end of this race. We're coming up, we've just gone past 11 laps to go, so not too long left.
Not too long left indeed. Diogo Oliveira has control and has wrestled control away from a driver like Davide Corps. It's a runaway at the moment, but anything can happen inside the final 10 laps of this event. Stay with us here as we go Racebot TV, side by side. Battle for position number 9 out on circuit. Dennis Branch versus Ryan Parkins. That's about 8 tenths of a second here as we're looking inside of the final 8 laps to go here at this wonderful circuit of Watkins Glen here in upstate New York. Of course, upstate New York, the home of Racebot TV's very own Mr. Cameron Walsh. So here at this fantastic circuit, which sees so many great overtakes and action going on, I am #DuMont Jakes Berry, joined alongside by Mr. Connery Maddock. And Connery, this race has been straightforward at the front of the field, but battles for lower positions and crucial points in the final race of the championship are certainly in full effect.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, final race of the season, all to play for right now. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the championship battle fight between the two drivers at the top of the field right now, but since they're not in the race, but in terms of the rest of the drivers, they're looking to get the best points finishes that they can in this race to finish off their season on a high. And as you mentioned, the battle we're looking at right now is for P number 9 between Parkins and Branch. And in fact, last time by, Dennis Branch caught up to the actually lost some time as I read that incorrectly. He lost 2 tenths of a second last time by the Dennis Branch. So Ryan Parkins is definitely responding to the charging number 12 machine.
It'll be interesting to know what times the pair of them do as they cross the start-finish line. Dennis Branch versus Ryan Parkins here. Parkins in 11, Branch in 12. Ryan Parkins is +5 for the day. Dennis Branch is only +1. It was a 121.7 for Ryan Parkins. Matched that one to a 121.8 from Dennis Branch. And now he falls outside the DRS range, and that's the last thing that Dennis Branch needs here on his charge to try and close down Ryan Parkins. Parkins is now effectively clear as things stand. It's worth looking at the leader though as well, though, Connery, because he is now having to deal with lap traffic in just a few moments' time. It's Oliveira against Oliveira.
Yes, it is, and which is the best Oliveira? Well, if you look at the race standings right now, it is pretty obvious. But it's a little bit of lap traffic for Diogo to deal with. And in terms of other bits of lap traffic you might have to deal with, then there's another car a couple of seconds down the road, Jean-Marc Grote and also Gary Larson, that he might catch before the end of this race, but we've only got coming up to around about 6.5 laps to go at this point, so I don't think you'll have too many issues with lap traffic as we have a look back to the battle between Parkins and Branch. And if my eyes are telling me the truth here, that gap has closed up over the course of this lap.
Your eyes may be very true indeed here, Connor, as Dennis Branch has done very well over this last lap to really close that gap back down. You can see the difference is going to be there, but it's not going to be as much as 1.1 seconds when they cross the line. The difference now looks a little bit less, 0.8 of a second. Dennis Branch has done an okay lap. It's Ryan Parkins who was slower over the course of that lap, which is the real difference maker here. Consistency not as strong as they head up through the S's once again. And once again, you're going to see not able to close down that gap enough here as Dennis Branch. He'll have the ERS though, that's going to be an advantage for him, and he'll try and use some ERS as well. 331 kilometers an hour before hitting onto the brakes.
Yeah, exactly, and all he has to do at this moment in time is just to keep within that DRS zone, but he's just, well, he's on the edge of getting DRS every single time right here, so he's in danger of losing it. But a couple more laps like he did last lap, and he may have an opportunity to get himself securely inside the top 10 by gaining that P9 spot. So this is the battle that we're going to be watching till the end, unless any others develop on track right now. Meanwhile, you have the retirements list, Jake.
Yeah, and we have 5 retirements in this event already. Matteo Ugolotti, Michel de Jong in his Blaze of Gloria incident. Ollie Croker went off. Of course, down at the toe, Daniel Berenson had that big spin around. And of course, Milos Pavlovic as well was involved in an incident during this event. And well, all these incidents happened around lap 5, lap 6. And it was really much, in the case of this race, Connery, early incidents caused a lot of spreading out through the field, and that's why we're seeing everyone now just having to run their own races here, aside from this battle for P9, P10, as Branch is closer here, but maybe just not quite in the range to make this one happen.
Yeah, he's going to get DRS again coming down this back straight, but as I said, he's not going to be close enough to make a move coming down into the carousel. And he is kind of running out of time at this stage in the race, lap 32 of 37 laps. So he has a couple of laps to prepare for his move, but any more than that, then he has just run out of time, run out of laps. And as you mentioned, the attrition rate here, it hasn't been the greatest, shall we say. We've got a couple of cars out of the race, 5 cars out of the race, many more cars out on track with damaged front wings, which is why I mentioned in the YouTube chat just a couple of minutes ago that Watkins Glen front wing scrapyard confirmed.
Yes, and that does seem to be pretty much a case here for this race, as quite a few damaged McLaren MP430s will have to be taken back to the workshops to be repaired, so that'll be something to keep in mind out on here for the new season. The good news is that new season will happen in 2 weeks' time, but in the middle of that, though, we've got a sensational new race to come up. Not exactly new, but it's one that will have a lot of history. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is happening next week, and of course that has the brand new additions of the Fords and the Ferraris to play with as well. Make sure you check that one out on iRacing Live, and of course with RaceBot TV in tow as well. That can be a race that you don't want to miss. Do you mind? We're broadcasting. Diego Oliveira then still leads, and he has just 4 laps to go then in this event, and he is pretty much home clear, Connery. And it's not been spectacular from Diego Oliveira, it's just been measured, and he's just wanted to build that gap, and the Corps has been making mistakes of his own as well during this event.
Yeah, exactly, and for Oliveira, his qualifying pace was actually around about 0.4 of a second slower than David de Corps, but an absolutely superior race pace has meant that he's pulled out that 11.3 second gap as it was last time by. So and he also had to get past David de Corps in the early stages as well, and that was absolutely crucial, not to get held up behind de Corps too long, managing to get himself in front and away. Meanwhile, Dennis Branch is still closing that gap, and he may have an opportunity this time, if not coming down to turn 1, coming down to the carousel. This is the opportunity he needs with just a couple of laps to go.
It is, and with his 4 laps then left to try and make this his 20 kilometers to make something happen, Dennis Branch then up the hill he goes, and he will lose out with the dirty air now as he tries to get onto the power. Use the DRS then, as he now will get the full effect. Hard to the inside, tries that drive, and then a Watkins, and Branch isn't going to follow him here. He wasn't close enough in his opinion, so he felt no reason to really go and attack this one just yet. So he'll have to wait behind in this battle for P9, P10. Another battle on circuit P12, P13. Gary Larson versus Jalmas Girot, who was the only driver actually on circuit to make the tactical pit stop right now, tucked in underneath the toe, looking for the opportunity. Not close enough.
Yeah, Girot on those fresher tires, in fact. And many laps, about 10 or so laps fresher tires than Gary Larson at this moment in time. So this one, you could say it's going to be inevitable, but as I mentioned before, you can never really know for 100% sure with these things. As we have a little bit of a look back towards the Watkins versus Branch battle, and I noticed that Branch, even though he had the opportunity and the DRS coming down the back straight last time by, he actually harvested ERS a lot earlier than Ryan Watkins did, and so I think he basically let Ryan Watkins use all of his ERS there to defend, even though Branch wasn't really threatening, and Branch is saving his own ERS by default for maybe a move later on.
But can he get close enough to make that move later on? That's going to be the big question here out of Dennis Branch. If he can't get close enough to make that move, then what's the point of making that move at all? We'll see what he does again here as he's down this back straight, looking towards the carousel. And he's deployed that ERS then, and he stopped deploying that ERS just about as he was heading towards that second part of the bus stop. So he saved a little bit, so he was trying to use it same as Ryan Watkins was, but Branch was unable to really close in though. But Larson versus Girot. Girot tucked in right underneath, and now will have that opportunity. Moves to the outside to try and make it happen. It's difficult to make it work around the outside, but with the much better tyre life, he is certainly going to make that one happen. Very good move from Jalmas Girot as he makes his way past then the driver of Gary Larson. The two will have to be careful because there's a certain Diego Oliveira coming, and he's got 2 laps to go, Connery.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think Oliveira is going to catch them by the end of the race. They're a good couple of seconds down the road at this point, and so I don't think it will cause much of an issue for Diego Oliveira as he's on his penultimate lap right now. Meanwhile, this battle for P number 9 is still there or thereabouts for Dennis Branch, but he's not as close as he has been, and as I mentioned before, he's running out of time now.
Yeah, he is, and for Dennis Branch, he'll only have one opportunity after this. If he can't make the move sorted, rounds himself then through the SS section, up the hill then they go, and now onto this fabled back straight. Isn't in the range to use that toe the way he wanted. It was 0.7 of a second, and again, that gap is open, so he's not going to be close enough to make anything happen here, it doesn't seem, unless he has an absolutely brilliant final few corners then to get himself onto the last lap. Girot is away from Larson, but Diego Oliveira starts his final lap then of the event. He's taken his foot off the gas a little bit. He has the gap to do so, to gap down to just 10.4 seconds between himself and Davide Corps, but he knows that the Corps is not going to close down that gap at all here as he travels at 319 kilometers an hour before heading into this carousel section. It's a coast to the end, you could say, from Diego Oliveira. Now down into the chute. This is where Alexei Usiakala had his moment, and Diego Oliveira almost had a moment of his own there, maybe being a little bit too cautious as he goes down in. He almost threw the entire race away in one fell swoop. So for Oliveira, there's the wake-up call for him as he now looks to head through the toe, up towards the hill now, up the hill, arguably the highest amount of elevation change on the circuit there, into the hill now, and just 3 corners to go for him. Turn number 9, the very difficult turn number 9, as he rounds that one with no issues at all. Turn 10 then, that's the corner that is the big setup. And then finally, one last corner to go. For Diego Oliveira, he'll finish the season off in a blaze of glory. He'll take a race victory here at Watkins Glen, and he'll take one with a little bit of bullets sweating away from his brow there, almost through the raceway at the final stages. Davide Corps will come home with a broken front wing in 2nd position. Still a fantastic drive from the pole sitter. And 3rd position will go to Reynaldo Augusto when all said and done. Branch, though, looking to try and apply the pressure to Connery. Ryan Watkins still ahead, and there's not much time remaining.
No, not much time remaining, and Watkins are actually going to harvest the DRS coming down this, what you could basically say a tertiary straight here. France is as close as he ever has been, but he's not close in the right place right now. He would have preferred to have been this close coming down onto the brakes, coming down into the carousel, but maybe he can do something in the final 2 corners here. Good run out of the turn number 9 for Ryan Parkins. He's heading his way into turn number 10, into turn number 11, and Dennis Branch way too far back right now, even if he gets a good run out here. And it's going to be Ryan Parkins taking P9. Dennis Branch has to settle for P10.
That is a shame then, and the final battles then that go through with the likes of Girotte versus Gary Larson, and Larson will certainly not be close enough then to get himself over the start-finish line. So what we can do here is get ourselves a look at the final results then from the circuit of Watkins Glen International to close out this Grand Prix Series season. And well, it would be the driver then in the number 1 machine who will take that victory. And that driver, of course, will be Diogo Oliveira, as he takes the victory by 8.3 seconds at the end. He'll take it away from Davide Corps from the Orion race team in second. Matteo Calastani will finish in position number 3, with Reynaldo Augusto in position number 4. Just a second. I was going to say an hour for a moment there. Ruslan Sabatov makes it 3.45 for Positive Sim Racing. Inu Minea finishes in position number 6, exactly where he started. 7th would go to Galen Dimov, who had front wing issues. Mark Warmington would drop behind over to P8. Brian Parkins would beat Dennis Branch out for P9, P10. P11 would go to Daniel Guerres and Jean-Mus Grot, and also Gary Larson would be the last of the cars on the lead lap. Estevers and Oliveira would finish P14, and the cars that failed to finish would be Matteo Ugolotti, Michel de Jong, also Ollie Kloker, Daniel Berenson, and Milos Pavlovic as well. We're going to step aside for just a moment here. We're just going to step back here and get ourselves to the post-race show after this. Well, at the end of a very straightforward race at Watkins Glen International, we are heading over to the post-race show here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live, because We have a couple of drivers waiting for post-race interviews. And of course, we can talk about the season as a whole. After all of that, I am #DoYouMind Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Mr. Connery Maddock here alongside. And well, we're going to speak very quickly first to the driver of Mark A. Warmington. Mark, for you of Blue Flag Racing, today was a race which was okay for you could argue in some respects. +4 for the day, position number 8. But are you happy with position number 8 today?
I am more than happy with 8. Did you see that start? That was crazy.
Yes, it was a very, very crazy start indeed, having to deal with 4 wide in certain places. But the main point of that race is just to try and get home safely for some drivers and score some points. And for you, you're having that battle with Glen Dimov towards the end of the event. And well, it did seem that Glen Dimov, despite having that good qualifying, he did have that broken front wing, which made overtaking maybe a little bit easier for you in some respects. But in terms of that battle, are you maybe looking to try and conserve yourself maybe in the final few laps of the event?
I was literally just trying to stay alive because, confession, I stopped practicing for this week on Wednesday. So I haven't turned a lap since Wednesday. And I've not done a race stint yet. So no one do that. But in the second half of the stint, it felt like the rears wanted to spin me out through every left-hander. So I thought my tyre was about to blow. So I literally just gave them the position and gave up. Then I realised, no, the car's just light and I've got more front wing than I needed. That's why I was starting to close back on him at the end. But I was happy to finish 8th. I thought I was going to die on that first lap.
Well, he manages to survive and he's very grateful for it. But of course, yourself as a whole in the Grand Prix Series, of course, the big testing point to get yourselves up to the iRacing World Championship for you is all about progression forward. And do you feel that maybe you can gain that progression in the next few stages with the work that you're doing at Blue Flag?
I don't know about the World Championship. We've probably got 1 or 2 drivers in the team that could get in there, especially one, Alex Sadler, if we could ever get him to race the damn car. For the rest of us, we're trying to, like you said, progress through the seasons and be realistically in a shout with trying to qualify for pro. And again, that's no full-blown conclusion. So we're really just trying to experiment, consolidate our pace, find something so that in the IGPS we're stronger as a team for season 3, season 4. So my eyes are focused firmly on finishing the experiments we were doing this season, driving more competitively again in season 3, and then eyes on the prize.
Eyes on the prize, it will hope to be Mark Warmington there, joining us then from position number 8 there for Blue Flag Racing. But the driver that didn't win the race today, or in fact didn't even compete today, is here in the commentary booth because he is, barring some amazingly high split race and high quality race, is your champion right now. Standing by with Connery Maddock is your provisional champion at the moment in the form of Kevin Ellis Jr.
Yeah, provisional champion at the moment, indeed, pending some miraculous split that may happen when Kevin Ellis Jr. is not in the race. But, well, you just decided to sit this one out, Kevin. You felt confident in your championship win.
Yeah, didn't really feel it. I did a few practice laps early in the week and just wasn't really enjoying the track. So I thought, had a quick look at the championship, saw the points and thought, no, I'll sit out and watch and see what happens. I've never won a championship before on iRacing, on anything. So a bit brave, I'd say, trying to, have an entire week less counted than everyone and hope that Matteo and Manu didn't get enough points. But yeah, it feels pretty good. Hopefully there's no mega split in the next few hours, but I can't really complain. Been pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. And obviously the series doesn't have as much prestige, shall we say, as did previously when it was basically the qualifying series or the pro series, quote marks, to get into the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. But it still should feel good to finally get your first iRacing official series Division 1 championship.
Yeah, I mean, a championship's a championship at the end of the day. I didn't really come into this season looking to win the championship because there's so many great drivers who kind of hop in and out and you never know who's going to compete every week. The last few weeks for sure, you saw Peter in there racing. A few of the Coanda guys have been racing throughout the season as well, so if they competed all the weeks I wouldn't even be in the top 5, so I was more just racing just to try and build my rank up a wee bit and have a wee bit of fun, and ended up being a championship run. So yeah, I've had a really good season. I think it's 10 starts, 10 top 5s this season, so consistency does definitely pay off. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the whole pro system with the Pro Series at the end of the year and stuff like that. If they should bring it back to iGPS, I've never tried the old way, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see more participation in iGPS. Anyway, I know for sure since you guys have started the broadcast, the races have been a bit more hotly contested, which is good. So yeah, I might come back next season. We'll see what happens. But it's been good.
I guess the pro qualifying method is debated quite a bit here, but looking towards now for you and your team coming into the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series at Silverstone, June 17th. How are you guys looking for that?
Confidence is on a all-time high, I'd say. Team's looking good. We've been experimenting over the last couple of days with some new things to do with the car, and it seems to have worked. Pete is looking as strong as always, so all eyes will be on him, no doubt, after Monza. So I know we're looking really good. Prep's going well. We've all been working really hard. We actually were in a session a few hours ago doing some laps. I found a couple tenths as well, so I'm hoping to finally get a top 15 on the board. The start of the season was, the first two races were not what I'd expected, and but yeah, the last two races I think I've been 18th and 17th, so slowly climbing my way up there. And I think with the way Silverstone's going, if testing keeps going the way it's going, I wouldn't be too surprised if I got a top 15. It's feeling pretty good so far.
Yeah, slow and steady progression it is, and that's really all you can ask for. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just all the guys from Apex UK and all the sponsors. I've not been interviewed enough to know them all off by heart, so apologies for that. But yeah, all the guys at Apex UK, they've been great. All the guys in the academy as well. I started this season off in the academy. It was only in the last few weeks I got to Apex UK. So yeah, everyone who's involved with that, all the Apex organisation. David Strid as well, my spotter, and Wallace Green as well. They're my two guys who do all the work behind the scenes, and they've made some great calls this season. Some good strategy calls that have brought me out on top. And you know, in some races I might not be as fast as the other guy, but a strategy call is from one of them has just turned the entire race on its head. So a huge thanks to those guys as well.
Yeah, or maybe when you once you finish well enough in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, then you'll be talking to Will Vincent and Johnny Simone in the commentary booth after the race, and you will in fact remember those sponsors. But that is your championship winner in the iRacing Grand Prix Series, Kevin Ellis Jr., Apex Racing UK. Back to you, Jake.
Yeah, fantastic championship win then for Kevin Ellis Jr. and the Apex Racing UK team also. But this has been a fantastic season that we've seen, Connor. We've seen so many ups and downs. I just want to get your overview on this season here, and what is your defining moment?
Well, from the races that we broadcast, it was a very, very good season indeed. Apart from maybe the race that we had at Brands Hatch, I think it was, where it was very difficult for anyone to get past any other driver during the course of that race. But all of the other races have been absolutely fantastic. Battles all throughout the field. And, one of the defining moments, I think, and I actually mentioned it over the course was the two PSR teammates coming together at the hairpin turn at Okayama, which wasn't too long ago, and that is definitely one to remember and one I'll be bringing up when discussing teammate battles probably for the next couple of seasons.
Fair play for you. My defining moment will be the Brands Hatch battle between Rasmussen and the Corpse, an absolute classic between those who couldn't really make any moves happen of them. But of course, this is not all that we're going to have here today. It's a double bill. As we said, the Gathering of Tweakers Samba Challenge will be happening in just a couple of hours' time, so make sure that you check both myself and Mr. Connery Manic out there. I have been #DoYouMindJakeSperry, and of course, Week 13 wouldn't be Week 13 without the 24 hours of Le Mans. Make sure that you tune on into that one. RaceSpot TV, iRacing Live, because that into Sunday will be a sensational race indeed. But for the time being, it's been a fantastic race that we have just seen. One with dominance for Diogo Oliveira, but it was the driver who didn't decide to drive who took the championship in the end. Catch you all in just a few hours' time. Good night.